What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Zoo Lab channel. Today, we're going to be diving into a critical topic in filmmaking, and that's camera angles. Having the appropriate amount of angles in your film can really make or break the audience's attention. Not having enough angles in a fast-paced action scene probably won't convey the type of emotion necessary. And having too many angles in a sad, emotional, lonely scene will definitely disconnect the audience from the emotion you are wanting them to feel. Let's kick off this topic by showing you 10 of our most favorite camera angles and how you can use them all in your next project. You have to start wide. Usually shot on anything from 10 millimeters to 24 millimeters, this angle provides context to the viewer and clearly establishes either location or emotion. If your wide angle includes buildings or landscapes, maybe with a sweeping drone shot, then you are most likely establishing location. If you have your subject in a wide shot, then you are most likely establishing a lonely, independent type of emotion. Using wide angles of a location is a great way to transition from one location to the next, rather than just cutting straight away. And also our next favorite angle, the detail shot. The wide and the detail shot are a great combo of angles to use for transitioning your viewer between locations. The detail shot is a crucial angle to master as a filmmaker or photographer. It draws the viewer in closer and provides additional clarity and focus on exactly what you want the audience to focus on. It further adds those much needed layers of interest to your films and breaks up the usual wide or medium shots. Just be careful to not have too many of either angle, as it can cause the viewer to lose interest. Sometimes if you have too many detailed shots in a row, it can make the viewer feel claustrophobic and not have the context needed to understand where they're at. Back up just a bit from the detailed shot and you have the medium shot, or sometimes referred as the cowboy shot, typically done with anything between a 35mm or 50mm lens. This angle is equally as important as the others, as it really establishes the subject or subjects in the film. As this angle is shot waist up, it's often preferred as the main camera angle for talking heads, since it's a common angle and distance we are all used to when talking with people in the real world. Next up is the beloved tight shot or close-up. You can shoot this with something like a 85mm or tighter. This angle and our previous angle, the medium shot, work hand in hand for the perfect two-cam interview setup. Slap on a 45mm for the medium main cam angle and an 85 for the close-up, and you got yourself a nice setup. Speaking of interviews, another great angle to spice up your look and evoke a more emotional feeling to the viewer is the short side angle. Shooting on the short side is typically an angle that you use to give the viewer a feeling of distress, sadness, or overall discomfort. This technique is definitely used a ton in documentary work when the person being interviewed is speaking on something sad or a stressful moment in their life. Up next is an angle you most definitely have seen in any of your favorite films. That is the over-the-shoulder shot, a back and forth dialogue go-to. If we're looking at our image, the goal for any over-the-shoulder scene is to place your subject on the upper left or right thirds of the screen. Grid lines on your camera or monitor help with achieving this look. And most of the time, you want to shoot on the shadow side of your subject, giving them enhanced dimension, shape, and interest to their face. Lastly, in most cases, when shooting over-the-shoulder shots, you want to avoid crossing the invisible line so that your scene doesn't feel too jarring and distracting. But hey, if that's what you're going for in your film, then I say go for it. These rules are only there for us to have a solid foundation. But if a scene calls for a certain emotion or requires you to break some rules and cross the line, then I'm all about it. The next two angles gives two very different feelings, the high angle and the low angle. The high angle is typically used to make subjects in the scene feel smaller or weaker, and the low angle or the hero shot is used to make the subject more heroic or powerful. Then we have the long shot, typically shot with an 85mm or longer. This, like the wide angle, also can be used to establish location, but with more emphasis on the subject. The idea is to be far back enough to have the full body of your subject. The longer focal length should give you increased bokeh and more compression in the background while still highlighting where your subject is located. And last but not least, the POV shot, typically shot on anything from 16mm to 28mm. And just like the name, this angle gives the audience a true point of view of what the character in the film is looking at and experiencing. All right, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this one and were able to add something new to your filmmaking skill set. We genuinely want to help the community at large. So please feel free to leave us any questions or suggestions in the comments below. We appreciate you guys a ton, and we will see you in the next one.